%42 of black women have never been married. That's double the number of never married white women.
I look forward to the day. I look forward to being married.
It's just not that easy. For starters, there are more black women than black men. 1.8 million more. So even if every black man in America married a black woman today, 1 out of 12 still wouldn't make it down the aisle. Let's take 100 black men. If you eliminate those without a high school diploma, those without a job, and the number of black men between the ages of 25 and 34 who are incarcerated, that leaves only about half of black men eligible to pop the question. What we looked at were the large numbers of professional black women who groomed themselves for success with BAs, MDs, and JDs. 70% of them are still without the more elusive title, MRS.
What's up, good people? I'm your man, Big Swole, Big Sexy, Big hugs and gifts from dudes on Facebook. Stop doing that shit. If another dude send me a teddy bear, a hug, I'm whooping ass. All right, so thank you for coming out and listening to the Internet's hottest podcast, the Internet's hottest radio, the Alan Show, Tony Show. I'm your man, Big Al, Big Swole, Big Sexy, Big Greasy, Big Paycheck. Sitting there with my man,
T to the R to the OCK.
And my man,
comedian J-Rax in the building.
And the very beautiful and the very it's complicated. What's going on, baby?
It ain't complicated. Tell them what it is.
It's clearly a relationship.
Yes, it is.
Whoa, ladies and gentlemen, if you believe that shit, please send us an email to truth-media.net.
What's so hard to believe? How come I never get a normal introduction? What is so hard to believe about me being in a relationship?
I'm with you. But she's right. She never gets a normal introduction. Right. Can you do it again? Right. Do it again.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very worldly, the very funny, the very intelligent Miss Ayana Duke.
Biatches.
Yeah.
I do all that. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you heard before we came on, we are talking about the state of marriage and black women. ABC did a quick thing on their ABC News about the poverty of women. You know, the likelihood of an African American woman getting married in this country is the pits. What you saying, dog? What is that all about?
Right. Well, it was a story. I think ABC did the story on it, and what was happening was they got I think it was like 7 or 8 women. 8 fine.
They were smokers.
They were fine women.
They were smokers.
And what they did was, they sat them around a table and they basically asked them. They said, what is the problem?
Right.
Why are you still single at age 35 and 40?
Right. Well, they were 28 in that era.
But they were young.
And it was like 5 and not 8. But I got you.
Exactly. Okay.
So, go ahead, Jay. You have to say something.
I was gonna say that, but it was like 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
Yeah, okay.
8, 9, and they were all 40.
It was like 15 women at one table.
Jeez.
But I saw the same thing, and basically what they were saying was that they were like 42% of black women are single, as opposed to let's say
that's double the rate for white women.
Right, because white women is like 80% of white women are married, and so that's what they were talking about, or what have you. And they were basically saying, they were saying, maybe you need to not literally lower your standards per se, but kind of compromise.
We'll get into it, but let's start with Ms. Dookie, what you think about it, and then because we'll have to break down the reasons, or what the women were saying the reasons are, what we feel as hosts are the actual contributors to this, and ways that we feel we can fix this. All right, Ms. Dookie.
I think a lot of women, they are looking for that fairy tale romance, or I think sometimes people are shooting above what they are, plain and simple. Like, honestly, the amount of black women or women of color, because I don't consider myself African American, but the amount of women of color in the DC area that are single is ridiculous.
Right.
But I think a lot of times women, they have these expectations. I'm like, boo-boo, there are more women out there than men, so you gotta step up to the plate.
Right. Well,
if you have if you have a a weight problem, no, not even weight problem, be healthy. You know what I'm saying? Men are very physical, and you're foolish.
Why they gotta be fat though?
You are
No, I'm not saying
Yeah,
that.
you know
I'm
you're gonna get some
saying-
emails.
I know. That's why I'm trying to back up.
What's she
right
saying about the women, the African American women's weight and all that?
No.
Yeah, but she ain't saying that. But here's let's talk about it. The deal is clearly if when they got rid of the guys that didn't work, when they got rid of the guys with no high school diplomas, when they got rid of the guys that were incarcerated, and they didn't add the gay guys into that group, then 1 out of every 12 African American woman would never get married. It is like some crazy number, like 1 point something million more black women than there are African American men. Go ahead, Jay.
I was just saying it was 1 point. It's like 1.4.
Yeah.
But my thing is, what I found kind of, I don't know if it got anything to do with anything, but why won't a man make a good husband if he doesn't have a high school diploma? I don't understand that.
But that's
He's not applying for a job. He's looking for a wife.
That is it. Hey, dog.
Back up. If you can't, I'm sorry.
All right, she about to say, she about to break it down. She about to break it
If
down.
you don't have a high
Hold
school, if you don't have a high school diploma, that tells me that you're not ambitious. Because it's not that hard to get
Okay,
a high school diploma.
Hey, Tony, get on this, because to me, those 5 women that were sitting there, the wrong things were the barometers to which they should get a
What
man.
should be the right ones?
It
then?
should be, he
Exactly.
love your stinking drawers.
Right,
The
exactly.
fact that you fine on TV and you can't cook and all these little informalities you have, he loves about you. You should be good with that. Tony, what you done?
But
Character.
see, and that's the thing about it, because see, here's what happens. I think they have lost sight of what's really important. See, they say what they want, but what they really truly want is love. And how do you know you can't get love from somebody who's not educated, somebody who doesn't make 6 figures, somebody who is not 6 feet 2, somebody who doesn't dress well? Because I think that's garbage. You set your standards, and the reason why you don't have the people that you want is because the doors are closed. Each time you set a standard, the wall closes
Exactly.
in. So you have to fit through this little hole. And I'm not saying you should, but that's the reason.
Miss Dookie, what you got?
I'm gonna say this. I dated a guy who did not have a college degree, and he worked out in the field. He was one of the trouble men for the electric and gas company in Baltimore, and he made a lot of money because he worked a lot of overtime. But we didn't have nothing to talk about, and that was just because we were just 2 different places.
But
in
I
life.
don't think that has anything to
And
do
I
with
think
his
it had a lot to
education.
do with his education level.
If it's about personality, it's about your upbringing, it's about some of those other caveats that make you the person you are. I don't have a degree,
Okay,
and I make a lot of money.
but it doesn't
And I
come
mean,
down.
you,
and
me and you could talk
Well,
I did
with
not
the
think-
lights
I
on
didn't-
and off.
I did not say it
Get
came
it.
down to
Get
money.
it.
Well, that's probably
Get
the
it.
reason why you get emails from guys on your Facebook page.
Stop
girly
sending me, stop sending me hugs and stuff.
That's why you're getting poked on Facebook.
Stop sending me.
Back to what I was saying.
All right,
though.
sorry.
Back to what I was saying. I think a lot of women, yes, they do have ridiculous standards, and I don't think height is a standard. I think that's something I would like.
Exactly.
It's when you go shopping for a house, it's like I would like when I bought my first house, I would like a house with a fireplace.
but a working stove will get it in. Right.
Not making $50,000 a year. I was getting no
Well,
fireplace.
let me dump this in there real quick, because we are talking about African American women. We have to understand, and then what Steve Harvey said in the piece is true. The brothers before us did not teach us how to be men. All right, but this goes way back to our inception on this continent. You have to understand that if you are familiar with the Willie Lynch letters, which we've talked about several times, in African American culture back then, it was necessary for the African American woman to minimize the most powerful African American or the most powerful slave male to keep him alive. And traditionally, throughout the generations, our role in relationships, in families, in bringing in money has been minimized. It's a snowball effect. So unfortunately, it is part of that. And we're going to women. You don't want to compromise. Women, you don't. You feel like it's beneath you. You done got all these degrees. You got a house and all of that. But if we're going to save our culture, then we have to do over and above to keep black women and black men together.